Hi, today we're going to talk about my top 5 tips to have a successful craft show or event market. So, tip number 1, always arrive early so you can be completely unpacked and set up before anybody starts shopping. And I would recommend being at least set up a half an hour early because other vendors will walk around at that time. That's the only time they're probably going to have to shop, and they are going to be shopping from you at that point and possibly purchasing. Outdoor events, there's no controlling when shoppers arrive. So the likelihood of them arriving early while you're still setting up is very high, and then you potentially can lose some sales because you are not there ready for them. And I've encountered that on several occasions with outdoor markets. Indoor is a little different because usually they won't open the doors until, say, 11 o'clock. But for outside markets, the shoppers could come at like 10:30. You never know. So tip number 1, be ready to go a half an hour early to leave yourself lots of time to get organized and set up and ready to sell. Tip number 2 is greet and say hello to every single person that's walking by, whether they're going to stop at your booth or not. If you make eye contact with them or if they're within speaking distance, just say, hello, how are you today? You don't have to like invite them over, make them feel pressure to come over, but just be friendly and approachable. And they might be more likely to stop and talk to you or come back around if you were friendly when they walked by the first time and they feel welcomed to come up to your booth. Along with that one, so tip number 3 also is invite shoppers and people that are at your booth already looking at it, so there's already an interest. Invite them to touch the products. So with candles, depending on your vessel, some people are afraid to touch and to pick them up because they're glass. Are they going to break them? If there's already a bunch of people there smelling them, you don't really have to say anything because they can see others doing it. But if they're the only customer there at the time, just invite them over and be like, hey, feel free to pick anything up and smell it. It's kind of an invitation. It's not being tricky, like putting them on the spot. Oh my God, now they have to smell it because you said something to them. But the likelihood of them picking it up and smelling it at that point is a lot higher because you've already invited them to do it and they feel like they should reciprocate with at least responding to your invitation. And then I found with my candles that usually if somebody smells them, they're very likely to end up buying them at that point. Like the scents are the selling feature there. So they get one and then it's like, oh, curious, what do the other 10 smell like? And then they tend to go down the line and then purchase. Tip number 4, I don't know if I'm on 3 or 4, for the markets is if there's a lot of interest and they're all smelling them, when they get to a particular one, I have my favorites, and usually right before or as they're picking up my favorite, I will share, oh, that's my favorite scent out of all of them, or that's my most popular seller, just to let them know kind of, oh, it's a great one. And it usually will spark a conversation. Like they'll be like, oh yeah, I really love this one too. Or, oh, actually, I really love the one before it. Anything that brings on natural conversation is always pretty good, I find, for interacting with people at the craft shows. Tip number 5. Sorry, I am not keeping track of my tip numbers very well here. We'll see what it's like at the end. But tip number 5 is the display. So I like to have it clean and organized. So the majority of my candles that you can see here, they all look the same vessel, same color, same label. So I will have them spread across the table. So on the left side, for instance, I'll have all of my year-round collection, like my classic collection. So I'll have those 6 on one side, and then I'll have the vessels, and then I'll have the matching 4-ounce tins there as well, so that they don't have to pick up the glass vessels to smell the candles. The 4-ounce tins that match are right in front, and then it's easy to grab and purchase. And then on the other side of my table, so currently it's fall and winter scents that I have out. So I'll have those ones on the other side, and again with the corresponding tins over there. So people can just like work their way down the table, but they are categorized. And with my scents, the fall and winter ones tend to smell more like food, baked goods. I have one that smells like Christmas trees. So they're very distinguishable scents, and they're a little bit stronger scents. And then my classic collection, on the other hand, is more calm, subtle, neutral, beachy vibes. So all of those scents tend to like work really well together. Like I would never mix in Tree Farm with one that smells like sweet grass or the beach. It wouldn't be a nice flow. And then again, nice clean lines, however everything's set up. And then I like to have some kind of riser. So I haven't purchased any of the stand risers yet, which I'm going to get down the road. But for now, I'm using, I have these baskets, and this one's full, but I will stand them with the opening down. And then I will stack another one on top. So right now I have like little twinkle lights inside, and some evergreen branches or pine needle branches, just for a little bit of holiday decoration. But then I'll display one candle in each. So it's like a little feature showcase. No one's pulling from there and buying from there, but I'll have 4 in there. And then I have a more square box in the center. And then I will have some kind of showcased in there as well, and then my signs on either side. So there is some visual wall going up and down. Everything's nice rows, nice and clean. And then I have my wax melts kind of stacked in the center. So very symmetrical, very pleasing to the eye when you're coming over. Easy to find and navigate, like all the scents are together, so it's easy to shop and it's not too overwhelming. I don't put everything out. I try to put like 1 or 2 of each, like the wax melts, I'll put 3. But so far I've had pretty great success with my shows. So speaking of craft shows and finding, so those were tips for at the craft show. So a few tips for finding the best craft shows to be in or vendor events. I found is you really need to know your demographic and who you're selling to. So for instance, my business and my niche is Lake Erie. So they're all beach and lake themed scented candles. So my demographic is definitely people that live in the area of the Lake Erie shores. Or cottagers, people that like to go to the beach, the lake, or trails. So I've been finding shows in like the small towns along Lake Erie. For events, like you can check the event pages, and I heard somewhere that it was like a good number to go off of is make sure that for the event there's enough interest to make it worth going. So I have found this to be true, that if there's 1,000 people or more interested, not the ones that click going, but interested, on average I've been making $500 to $1,000 per show for those events. There's usually pretty good traffic going through. And then I did have one that said there was 7,000 interested, and I doubled my sales for that event. That one was outside, however, in not great weather, so potentially that one could have been a lot better. So definitely look at the event pages and past history. Like you'll start to talk to vendors at shows and find shows that they've had the most traffic at and the most success. So another tip that I have for when you're booking your show is the quality that seems to be there. So I have some that are at breweries or are in the park shows. Those tend to have shoppers that are willing to pay a little bit more for merchandise, and my candles are a little bit more on the higher end of the price range. So that definitely made a difference for me. And then also there was one that I went to, and it was marketed as Arts and Crafts Fair, and I did not do as well there. The other vendors were definitely selling things that, no offense, that were they looked more handmade, less professional and less as a business, just more like hobby. and selling these little crafts. So the clientele that were coming to that event were not the same as the ones that were coming to the events that were night markets with bands playing and food vendors. It was quite a bit different. So definitely look into that, and I will be back with any further tips that I have. Thank you.